In this video, I'm going to talk about masking. So let's begin by creating a new composition. I'm going to do the HDTV 1920 by 1080. I'll name this comp masking 1. We might try a couple of different versions. So I'll call this masking 1. And I have a black background, and I'll say OK. Now I'd like you to create just a simple shape. We could do this by creating a solid layer. So new solid. Let's use the command Y key command. So command Y. I've got red, which is fine. Now this doesn't need to be the full size of the composition. Just make it 900 wide by 750 tall. I'll say OK. All right, so we always have to figure out how we're going to bring our elements on screen. So we have to reveal them in some way. Occasionally you want things just to pop on and pop off, but usually not. Usually you want them to come on in some way, either from off screen, they come into screen, they fade up, they scale up. One important technique you can use is masking. So I've got this shape, so we now have this solid layer. I'm going to start by using just the rectangle tool, and I have my red solid selected, and I'm just going to create a rectangle over here on this side, and immediately that has hidden our layer, and at the same time it has created a mask in the timeline. Let's open up the mask properties. So we're going to animate the path. So as with all animations, you have to have a one keyframe to begin with, and then we can move in time. I'll move over, say, 20 frames, and now I'm going to open up the mask. So I'll use my selection tool, double click on the outside section of the mask, and you see we get the double-headed arrow. That lets me pull the mask out and across. So we've now created an animation that's going to reveal our shape. Okay, now you can have multiple masks on the same layer. So for example, we could have another mask coming from the other side here. So I'm going to go to my 20 frames position. I'll take the rectangle tool again, and I'm going to make another rectangle on this side, and that has created a second mask. I'm going to put a keyframe for mask path, and I'll move down another 10 frames. Take my selection tool, double click on the edge of the mask, and then drag it across. Okay, so we're not going to see any change at this moment unless we do something over here with our second mask. So right now it's on add. That means it's going to reveal the image. But we could change that to subtract, and now it's going to subtract that section. So we have this one coming across and that one going across. And it is now transparent. We could have another one come in that's going to reveal. So you can just keep stacking these up. So I'm going to take another one. I'll put it over here at 10. So we've got 3 masks. This will be an add. I'll go down 10 frames. With my selection tool, click on the edge of the mask, and then drag it across. So this is what we've got right now. All done on a single layer with just 3 simple masks. Let's add one more. We can come down from the top. So I could put another one in here at the top. We've got 4 masks now. Put a keyframe. This will be a subtract. I could also do an invert. In this case, invert will do. This one is on add. I'll make this one also a subtract. Or we could do this one as intersect. Let's see what happens when we do intersect. And I will take the selection tool. I have to move out 10 frames. Double click on the edge of the mask and then drag it down. So now it's only going to appear where it intersects the other masks. Now let's do another one with a more organic shape. Let's create a new solid layer that will actually be the same size as the comp. So if I click here, it has now changed this to the 1920 by 1080, and I'll say OK. So we've got something that completely fills the frame. Now I'm going to use the pen tool. You have to make sure that your layer is selected, otherwise you're going to create a new shape layer. So I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. I'll just create a simple freeform shape. I'm not going to put too many points on it at this right now because I'm going to have to be modifying these as it moves across the screen. I'll go to 10 frames and add a keyframe for path, and then move down to 1 second. Take my selection tool. Actually, as it goes across, I'm going to have it morph, have it change its shape a little bit. So deselect. Now I can select any one of these points. So select, click off it, and then back on it, and you can change the shape. Maybe I'll move that over to 20 frames, and then take it all the way off. Double click on it, and then you can just drag it off. But out here, I'm going to deselect and reselect, and then change the shape again. So as it goes off, it will change shape. Shorten my work area, and let's loop that and see how it plays. It's going really, really fast. I want to slow it down so you can see it better. So I'm going to select all of these, hold down the Option key, and then just drag these out so that I'm over at like 2 to slow this whole thing down. Okay, there you can see what's actually happening. Now let's try another one. Let's do a circle. So Command N, let's create a new composition. I'll call this one masking circle. Now I've already done one of these, so I'm going to call this masking circle 2. We're going to start by having a solid fill layer, same size as the comp. And then let's take the ellipse tool. I want to be in the middle. So I'm showing my title and action safe by hitting the apostrophe key. I'm going to click in the middle. I'm going to hold down the Command and the Shift in order to get a perfect circle. We could take this all the way out, say full frame. That's where I want it to end up. Say let's make that at 1 second. I'll put a keyframe. Then I'm going to go back down, let's say to 10 frames. And I want to bring this all the way down to 0. So I'm going to take my selection tool, double click on the path, and then from any corner, hold down the Command and the Shift so you constrain proportions, and you go to the point where you started. You drag it all the way down there so that it's almost invisible. Let's give it a, well, we could trim the layer, so that would be Option, left bracket, or we could add in an opacity. By trimming the layer, we know that is not going to show at all. It can't show until that layer begins, until that layer is on frame. So we're going to have it come up like that. Let's duplicate this mask. And with the second mask, I'm going to hit U, so show my keyframes. I'm just going to offset and I'm going to change this mask to subtract. So we've got it coming up, and then we've got that one going off. All right, let's try. Let's add another one here. I'm going to just duplicate this one again, and on 3, I'll hit the U key so I can see my keyframes. So this one comes up like this, and as it comes up, as soon as it comes up, I want this one to start coming back down. So I'm going to move these over, and I actually need to reverse these keyframes. So I'm going to move this one out to 25. This one comes back here to 105. Go out to 125 for this one. but now we can't see anything. So I have to change the mode. If I just do add, we're not going to get the animation at the beginning. But notice if I change this to difference, now it comes up and then it goes back down. Although we are seeing now the entire red frame, but that's sort of an interesting result in any case. Another way we could do this is we could do this as add, but we would not see it until we get to this point. So we can animate mask opacity. So I'll put a keyframe for 100%, and then I'm just going to move out a few frames. And change this to 0. So, comes up, and then comes back in. All right, let's do one where we're masking type, revealing type. This will be probably very practical and useful for you. Let's create a new composition. I'll name this one masking dash type. 1920, 1080. We don't need it to 5 seconds. I'll just make it 3 seconds and say OK. And then let's create a line of type. This is a title. I'm just using Helvetica, 84 pixels, and it is centered. Now there's a couple ways we could reveal this using a mask. We could just do it exactly the same way we did the shape in the previous comp. I could start out by creating a mask, keyframe, maybe 20 pixels feather, switch to my selection tool, move in time over, say, to 10, double click on the edge of the mask. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see this a little better. I'm going to grab this center point on the right side and then just drag this across. Okay, so shorten my work area and let's play this. Let me just slow it down. It's a little bit fast for us. So let's go to 20 and slow that down. Okay, so this is a nice soft reveal. I will put an easy ease in on the end here just to make it a little bit nicer. Okay, so that's one type of mask we can use to reveal it. Let's try a different one. I'll delete this mask. I'm going to put one right in the center now. This is an add mask. I'll do a keyframe. I want that keyframe actually to be at the beginning, so I'm going to select it and drag it over to the start. And now here at 20, I'm going to open up the mask. So I'm going to open it up from the middle out. So I'm going to drag this one out, and I'm going to drag this one the opposite direction. So let's play that and see what happens. Let's move these over so it doesn't start quite so fast. I'll move this over to 1. And I'm going to add a little bit of a feather. And let's play it again. Okay, now let's have one come up from the bottom. I'm going to select my rectangle tool again. Place one at the bottom. I want to be at the beginning. And add a keyframe for path. Give myself maybe 25 pixels for a feather. I'll move out. Actually, let's move that first frame over to that first keyframe over to 10 frames. Then I'll move over to 1, and with my selection tool, I'll double click and open this up. So now we have this.